many games will the Miami Dolphins win in 2025? Welcome, Fins fans, to your official record prediction and schedule preview for the 2025 Miami Dolphins. If that sounds good, spike the like button, and of course, let me know if I'm right or wrong in the comment section below. Let's get to it, breaking down every game on the Dolphins' 2025 regular season schedule. Let's begin with week number 1. The Miami Dolphins travel to Indianapolis to take on the completely unknown Indianapolis Colts offense, led by most likely Anthony Richardson, one of the most incoherent and inconsistent quarterbacks in football. And Miami, I will say this, you guys typically start the season off hot. You typically have a couple new wrinkles from Coach Mike McDaniel. Tua is healthy. Your offense is healthy. Your offensive line is healthy. And therefore, you put up points. The Colts are not a bad opponent, especially on the road. That's a decent test, especially when it comes to the Colts at the line of scrimmage. Probably a more talented team than Miami. But Miami has the better quarterback. Miami has, in my opinion, the better offense. And I just think they're more capable in week 1 to put up a lot of points. Now, I could see the Colts pass rush maybe giving the Dolphins some problems, but with how quickly I believe Tua will get rid of the ball and into the hands of Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Jonnu Smith, I think that the Dolphins can outlast the Colts, even if they do have some issues with Anthony Richardson running around and making plays with his legs, because we know he's not going to make them with his arm, which is also a key to this game, because Miami's secondary might be pretty pathetic this year. So if they can at least get some pressure and contain Richardson up front, that will allow them to come out as the winner in this game. So I actually think Miami, slight favorites to win that game. I think they will win that game. The New England Patriots at the Miami Dolphins. My Patriots, by the way. I think that the Dolphins will win this game because the Dolphins, with Tua, and I do expect Tua to at least make it through one game, will win, and they have always won against the Patriots. Now, that being said, the Patriots should be a lot better this year. This is the best Patriots roster, I think, since 2019. So New England should be a much more talented team. They have a quarterback they believe in, a coach they now believe in. So the Patriots will be a lot more formidable in this division. And their defense is going to be one that's going to challenge Miami because they've got talent up front with the likes of Milton Williams, Christian Barmore, Harold Landry, but they also have Carlton Davis and Christian Gonzalez in the back end. So that's going to give Miami some issues. But I think Miami in their home opener in that warm, hot Miami weather, that's always a difference maker for this team early in September. And New England, traditionally, even at their peak, has lost to Miami in Miami. So I think the Dolphins will take this game, even if it's not just because of the weather. I mean, the weather could be a big indication, but also you have to deal with the Tua factor, which is that he just hasn't lost to the Patriots yet. So until that happens, I'm going to pick the Dolphins. Week 3, the Miami Dolphins travel to Buffalo. Now, this is the exact opposite story here. Miami typically gets absolutely bludgeoned by the Buffalo Bills, especially on a short week in Buffalo. That's a really tough game. So I'm going to give that one to the Bills. Buffalo is, I think, maybe the best team in the AFC. They will be competing for a Super Bowl championship this year. And it's a short week, coming off probably a pretty physical game against the Patriots, a division rival. And this is just a team that has your number, especially when it comes to McDermott understanding what allows Tua to click, what allows Mike McDaniel's offense to run smoothly. Like, McDermott has a very good understanding of how to get in the passing lanes with his zone coverage concepts and how to take away Tyreek Hill. Like, the Bills have had a very good defensive game plan against this Miami team. Then at the same time, it's just hard to contain both Josh Allen and James Cook. Like, last year, they played early in the season, I believe, on a Thursday night. And you contained Josh Allen, but you didn't contain James Cook. Josh Allen has feasted on the Dolphins. I believe that the Bills will win this game running away. So Miami will have to bounce back in week 4 against one of the worst teams in the NFL at home. I think they should take care of business on a Monday night against the Jets. Justin Fields, not a huge fan of. Defensively, the Jets have talent, but the Dolphins overall have had the answers for the Jets defense, right? Even with the supreme talent of Sauce Gardner, Quinnen Williams, the Dolphins have been able to put up points, especially in Miami on a primetime game. I don't see Miami losing that game. I also think their pass rush and their athleticism up front will be able to disrupt, slow down Breece Hall and Justin Fields in the run game and get after Justin Fields to cause some mistakes. The one area, again, that Miami can be exposed by teams is through that passing game because of their secondary, especially if Jalen Ramsey gets traded. The Jets don't have a good passing game with Justin Fields. So I think the Dolphins will win that game and start 3-1, which is kind of typical of Miami. They start the season hot, but it's about how they finish this season. And I kind of look at Miami as a worse roster than the last couple of years. I think most Dolphins fans would also admit that. So more pressure is on McDaniel to step up. More pressure is on their big name players, their pass rush, their receivers, and of course Tua to stay healthy and to also perform the best he's ever performed. But so far, so good. This is a pretty good schedule to start the season for the Dolphins. Now, week 5 and 6 are interesting. I think they could beat one of these teams, but I'm not sure they could beat both. At the same time, going to Carolina is interesting. Carolina, I could see being a pretty interesting team this year. Bryce Young developing another season. The offense was sparking late last season. They were able to run the ball, play physical brand of football. Their defense, though, it's still shaky. I think it's going to depend a lot on the health of Miami in this game. Like, how is Tua doing? How is Tyreek doing? That is probably going to be the deciding factor. I think Miami, though, with their speed against the Carolina secondary and a lack of Carolina pass rush, I kind of feel like that's going to be challenging. But if Carolina is good, this is probably the game that they would win. This is a game they should win if Carolina is good this year. But I'm just not sure if they are. I kind of feel like they're fairly mid. Miami is fairly mid as well. And I'm going to take Miami. I just kind of think that with Waddle and Hill, J.C. Horn can only cover one of them. So there's that. It might be more difficult to run on Carolina this year with Derek Brown in there, but that being said, Carolina was very bad against the run last year, so maybe Devon Achane gets going. Then defensively, yeah, Bryce and T-Mac and Adam Thielen, there's more weapons than like the Jets, but at the same time, it's not Josh Allen, so it's a tough one. I'm going to go with Miami, but I could see Carolina winning that game. Week number 6, the Chargers. I think the Chargers beat the Dolphins in Miami. The travel will be tough for the Chargers, so that's something to take into account. But the Chargers are just a much more physical football team, and I also like how their defensive scheme matches up with Miami. They're very conservative in coverage, and they like to keep an umbrella over the top. And I think that's going to provide a lot of challenges for the Dolphins, especially considering the Chargers' physicality. I think they'll be able to out-physical the Dolphins on the line of scrimmage on both sides. I think that the Chargers can run the ball better this year under Greg Roman and their improved offensive line, adding a name like Mekhi Becton. They've got 2 new running backs in Hampton and Harris, and Justin Herbert is a stud too. I could see the Dolphins at home winning this game potentially, but I feel like the Chargers are just the better team, slightly better coached, slightly better quarterback play, more physicality. I just think the Chargers are a tougher matchup than they used to be for the Dolphins. And even a couple years ago, they were a tough matchup for the Dolphins. So I think the Chargers will win this game. Week 7, at Cleveland is a tricky one. I'm going to come back to that because that almost is like injury and weather dependent. I could see how the Browns might be able to win that game. Week 8, in Atlanta, I'm also going to come back to that game because these are going to be deciding factor games in terms of my record prediction. We're going to get back to those. Those could go either way games, in my opinion. Week 9, they play the Ravens. I think they lose to the Ravens. The Ravens are just a much better team. Their defense, just like the defense in LA with the Chargers, kind of plays similarly, except I think they're a better, more talented version, which is going to give the Dolphins a lot of issues. They're a physical football team on offense that also can light you up through electricity through the deep passing game. I think that's going to be a big issue against Lamar Jackson, Zay Flowers, and company. The Bills, I think, will sweep the Dolphins as they typically do. The Dolphins might, one of these games, especially the game in Miami, be competitive and close, but I just think the Bills are too good. The Ravens and the Bills, in my opinion, are the two best teams in the AFC in 2025. So those are going to be two very challenging matchups, especially after coming off of the Ravens game. It's going to be that much more difficult to beat the Bills because the Ravens are so physical and overpowering that you're going to be worn down from that game. I think the Bills take advantage. I could see the Dolphins maybe bouncing back here against the Commanders. This game's in Spain. I'm also going to come back to that one. I think they'll beat the Saints. I think they'll lose to the Jets one time in New York. If this is bad weather, that could be the determining factor. Well, the Jets could really lean into the running game. Maybe the Jets' defensive line fares well in one game. Tua might be hurt by this point. I mean, who knows? There could be a lot going on. Down the stretch here is where I think Miami will struggle. I think they'll lose in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh has an overwhelming pass rush. If it is Aaron Rodgers and a Monday Night Football setting, I think that's going to be a challenging game. Rodgers actually played well against the Dolphins last year. On top of that, I like the Steelers coaching staff. I think they have enough weaponry to threaten, especially with Aaron Rodgers at the helm, that secondary of Miami, enough balance to give them issues in the running game. And then defensively, they just have one of the best, if not the best, pass rush in the entire sport. They're also just extremely physical, tough to score on. It's probably going to be an ugly weather game as well in Pittsburgh at this point in the season on a Monday night in prime time. That's a very challenging game. Week 16, they could potentially, if healthy, beat the Bengals in a shootout, but I'm going to lean Joe Burrow here. Week 17, Tampa Bay. This could be a game that they win. We'll get back to that. And week 18, I think they'll lose and drop one to New England at the end of the season. I think New England will be fighting for a playoff spot, so this game will be very, very interesting. So right now, we have Miami sitting at 5-8-4 with 4 games to be decided here. Now, I personally think that they can win 1 or 2 and get to about 7-10, 6-11, maybe 8-9. I think that's kind of their range of outcomes this season. Tampa, so let's think about the Tampa matchup. So Tampa, they obviously it's short travel. Tampa is going to be used to the conditions and the weather. Tampa is more talented than Miami at the line of scrimmage. Tampa, in my opinion, has the better quarterback. Tampa is very physical up front, but they're very aggressive, and they do blitz a lot. And that could be where Miami could take advantage with their speed at wide receiver. At the same time, I mean, it's going to be tough to stop Baker Mayfield, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and Emeka Egbuka with your cornerback group and your secondary. So I'm going to go with Tampa. And I think the Dolphins really struggle at the end of the season, as they typically do, whether it's because Tua is injured or not. I'm kind of factoring that in a little bit because it's very much a possibility. But this is a really tough slate. You've got to play 4 teams that could make the playoffs right here at the end of the season. And you've got to play a division foe in the Jets on the road in bad weather. Week 11 in Spain against the Commanders. Week 7, Week 8. So I'm going to give them one game here. So Atlanta in Atlanta. Atlanta can run the ball. Atlanta, unknown really quarterback product in Michael Penix. I like their weaponry. I don't love it. Atlanta doesn't have a great pass rush. Atlanta does play a lot of zone, soft coverage. Atlanta is decent defensively, but nothing special. Offensively, I think they're good, but not great. It's in a dome. That should help Miami. Their offensive line is pretty good in Atlanta, so I feel like that could offset your pass rush a little bit. This is a really tough one. I mean, this game could go either way, to be honest. I might lean towards the home team, but I'm not 100% sure. Let's go, because Cleveland's a tough matchup, because Cleveland's got a very good defensive line. They've got corners that can stay with Hill and Waddle with Denzel Ward and Emerson and Newsome. Their offense is interesting. Like, it depends on their health and their quarterback production, but their offense can run the ball typically. Stefanski's a good coach, and they do have Jerry Jeudy, David Njoku. Like, a lot of this is going to be health dependent, But Cleveland's also a tough place to play for Miami if it's weather related, wet ball, things like that. I'm going to go this one could just go either way. I might change my mind, but I'm going to go Cleveland upset. Miami beats Atlanta. And then I'll say they lose to the Commanders in Spain, but I'm not 100% sure. They should be able to win one of these 3 games against 3 of the best teams in the league, but it's going to be a challenge. So when looking at Miami's schedule, I think that they're going to finish about 6-11, 7-10, somewhere in that range. I think this will be the downfall of the Dolphins this year, but a lot of it's going to come down to it's a really tough schedule later in the season. Miami typically loses their quarterback or gets heavily injured. They don't have the depth defensively or the skill on the offensive line or the secondary that I'm really searching for or looking for or that they've had in the last couple of years. They've definitely gotten worse. I think the Patriots in their division have gotten better. The Bills are still supremely talented. They play a lot of good teams like the Ravens, the Commanders. They play the Bengals, the Bucks, the Patriots, teams that I could all see making the playoffs. The Chargers, another team that I could see making the playoffs. But if they can feast early on their schedule and then just find a way to upset a couple teams down the stretch, find a way to play more physical football against teams like the Bucks, the Bengals, and the Steelers, maybe they can squeak in. But I don't feel very good about the Dolphins this year. I think they're going to be a below average team, just slightly below average. I don't really believe in their defense. This could be a franchise-altering season for them if this goes with this result. So I have the Dolphins at 6-11. That's kind of probably on the lower end of the spectrum, though. I see them about 6 to 8 wins this season. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. It's Mitch. Don't forget to subscribe for more schedules and previews for every team just like this, along with the rest of the AFC East. It's Mitch. Thanks for watching. Peace.